going on, everybody? Episode 177 of the White Cat Outdoors podcast. This week, me and Tom are joined in studio with our good buddy Trevor Kuhn. Frank's not in studio today because we're recording kind of off schedule. We had some plans earlier in the week, so with Trevor coming into town for the weekend, we just thought it'd be fun to do an episode with him because we've been hunting with him for years, and he just has been really close friends with us, and we just enjoyed a lot of our hunting stories with him over the years. So today we're going to talk about Trevor's first turkey, his first few turkey hunts that resulted in a lot of birds dying, his first buck, how we met him, and why we're such good friends with him. So we hope you really enjoy this episode. There's a lot of good hunting stories involved, mostly all turkey hunting, but also Trevor's first buck story, which was a blast. So we hope you guys really enjoy this episode, and we're just going to get tuned in to this week's episode right now.
So I did the cardinal sin. I pull up my bow, and then I look dead at his antlers. I got out of the truck, and when I slammed the door, I heard gobbles all around me.
Let's see it.
Alaska, moose, spot and stalk. That is the bucket list. I agree.
White Cat Outdoors. White Cat Outdoors.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another installment of the White Cat Outdoors podcast. I am your host, Tom, and in the studio with me today, I got my brother, Nick.
Yep, I would consider myself also a co-host here.
Yeah, and our good buddy, Trevor.
How's it going? Very much not a co-host.
But Frank's not in the studio today. We're not podcasting on our normal Wednesday night routine.
We had softball Wednesday night, so we had to bump it back, and our buddy Trevor from Pittsburgh decided he was coming in this weekend to do a little turkey hunting, so figured why not bring him on.
Yeah. So as you know, turkey season's well underway, and mine and Trevor's friendship, and Nick as well, goes back to our college days. And I met Trevor. We worked on the grounds crew together at the university, and believe it or not, he actually hated me when we first met.
Couldn't stand him.
Trevor had been there for how many years?
I believe it was 2 at that point.
And never once got to touch a zero turn. Day one, I show up. Boss man puts me on a zero turn to go cut some grass.
Does Trevor grabbing the string trimmer?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, 100% out there. In the rough.
And then it was like 2 weeks later, he asked to move in for the summer.
It was that quick?
Yeah, I figured, you know what, if we're going to bury this hatchet, we gotta do it right now.
Yeah. Now, we worked together for the full year, this school year, and Trevor graduated and went back down to Pittsburgh, got a job interview up in Erie, and was like, hey, so I don't have to leave from Pittsburgh in the morning. Do you think your parents would care if I...
Well, it was for an interview at first, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Oh, I thought you said... Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, so I don't have to drive up from Pittsburgh. Do you think your parents would care if I stayed on your couch and just left from there in the morning? I'm like, no, not at all. So Trevor stays one night, has the interview, and ends up getting the job. So now he's got to book an apartment, and he gets the apartment, and he's like, hey, they needed to...
Like shampoo the carpets or something.
Yeah, wash the carpets or wash the walls or something.
A lot of paint, a lot of painting.
It's going to be like 3 or 4 days. Do you think your parents would care if I stayed at your house for a few days while my apartment's getting ready? I'm like, no, they won't care. So he gets all situated for a couple days, and it was just like one thing after another with this apartment. They just kept doing project after project.
Yeah, it was funny because it was like every week it seemed like it just got extended, and then to the point where we're just like, I don't even know if this apartment exists. I don't know. It was just funny how like it was like every week something. Oh, they're doing this to it or.
Oh yeah, obviously I signed that lease currently in the busy season, if you will.
But it ended up being pretty much a whole summer, and hands down probably the best summer.
Oh, yeah. Well, because I turned 21 right before that summer started. So Trevor and I had an absolute blast all summer long. But was it that spring or the following spring you took Trevor out turkey hunting?
No, that was still while we were in school.
Oh, okay.
Because he was living on campus. We actually, little preview, he ended up killing a gobbler and we cooked it at your house. I think it was still on Beach Street, wasn't it?
Yeah, down by Lakeside.
Yeah. So anyway, that's background on how we know Trevor. And so like I said, he came up this weekend to turkey hunt with us. And we've been turkey hunting with Trevor for quite a few years now. And I don't want to toot my own horn, but I called in and got Trevor. That was your first turkey, right?
Yeah, first one.
Yeah. And so I'll give Trevor the reins here. He'll give us the rundown of this turkey hunting expedition.
Oh yeah, Tom can call in some turkeys.
So I remember, I guess I'll back up a little bit. Tom had warned you, how turkey hunting can be very difficult and a lot of cat and mouse, and it doesn't always go your way.
Oh yeah, I had very low expectations, especially not knowing what I was about to get into or what I was doing. I want to say we hit the field at 4:15. Sat in a field for 2 hours, no backrest.
Yeah, we did find a nice bush to lean up against.
That's nice.
Yeah, nothing but sturdy.
So, Tom, why don't you give us a little rundown on how you set Trevor up? And
Well, we were hunting and I know better now, my uncle and my boss's lease at the time. I had mentioned to my boss that I was hunting my Uncle Frank's lease, and I thought he was going to rip my head off. He's like, Uncle Frank's lease? That's my lease. I'm like, oh, my bad. And then he found out Trevor was using an 835 on his lease. It was bad.
Yeah.
now, what should you have been using?
Apparently a 10 gauge.
Single shot, break open?
Oh yeah, apparently.
Greg tried like hell getting Trevor to take that gun, but he was stuck with the old 835.
So did your boss find out that you shot a turkey on his lease before or after? Like, did he know you were hunting it, or was it like, hey, I shot a bird, where'd you kill it? And then he found out, or
He knew that we were going out there. I honestly don't think we ever told him we actually got anything.
No, we didn't.
It was like, it was just a mutual understanding. Like, yeah, we didn't get anything that weekend.
So give us a rundown how the hunt went.
So Frank told us where these birds were roosted, and he said they usually roost in these pines, and they come down into the field in the morning and strut. So me and Trevor were like, all right, we're going to set up in this field, and like I said, there's no trees, so we hunkered down against a bush and weathered that storm for probably, 2 hours?
Oh, yeah.
Birds were gobbling off the roost pretty heavy, and they didn't come out to the field like Frank said they do every morning, believe it or not. And after I think both mine and Trevor's legs had successfully fallen asleep, we decided it was probably time to head into the timber and chase after them. And this is where the story gets good. So we go into the woods where we heard these birds on the roost and set up, do some calling.
Any decoys or anything?
No decoys. Do some calling, nothing. And I think it was at that point we decided it was time for a nap.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So there was a fallen down log that we were both sitting up against, and we're both sleeping, and I wake up to the sweet, sweet sound of a gobble off in the distance. So I nudge Trevor and, hey, there's birds gobbling. So get them all set up into position, call, birds hammer back. So I'm like, all right, this is good. So I get Trevor set up. He's in front of me, just probably 5-10 yards. I'm tucked back a little bit. And I don't know how, it was just dumb luck. They came in on us. What was there, 5 of them?
I think there was 5 of them, yeah.
Yeah.
All gobblers?
Yeah, every
Nice.
single one of them. So they get to probably about 30 yards. And I'm like, okay, Trevor, shoot. And they just keep coming. They get to 25 yards. I'm like, okay, Trevor, shoot. 20 yards.
Can you hear Tom?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, you heard. Okay.
I was like, this guy does not know what he's talking about.
So
What's going through your head with these birds out in front of you? Tom's yelling at you from behind to shoot. Like, what's going through your head at that point? They're too far?
No, I would just say nerves because, we got to a point that I didn't really know if we'd actually get to in the morning. And being the first time, I'm like, well, I might as well wait and give myself the best chance possible.
Just kind of prom night, got a little nervous.
Oh, yeah.
Like you did not expect to be here.
Yeah.
So they get to about 15 yards, and I get a little bit louder. I'm like, maybe he doesn't hear me. I'm like, Trevor, shoot. Boom. Shotgun finally barks. Bird starts flopping. And
Trevor jump up, or did you jump up or anything?
I stood up real quick. I was going to try and shoot another one as they were running away, but
Yeah, Tommy took off.
yeah.
But they were long gone.
Yeah, couldn't get a beat
If you were
on 'em.
sitting side by side, you probably could have, but sitting behind Trevor makes it tough.
Yeah. If we were sitting together, we could have done the old 3-2-1, but I don't know. I don't think I could have waited till 15 yards.
If we would have, though. If we would have just waited till I wanted to.
But it was actually a double bearded gobbler, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so Trevor's first turkey hunt ever kills a double-bearded gobbler.
Yeah, have 5 birds come in on a string right to his lap. And his turkey hunting stuff's easy.
Well, and I remember Tom told you that, hey, this doesn't usually work out this way. And so it was like the following weekend, maybe, we go up to Morrison to go turkey hunting. And we had a little fun at the campfire. You and I didn't even make it out. Tom goes down, shoots a bird. So Trevor and I are like, all right, tomorrow we'll go get some of them birds with our buddy Joe. Well, you actually, I forget, you didn't have a New York license.
Mm-mm.
So you were just kind of spectating. So we go get set up. Me and Joe had New York licenses. Birds come in, drop 2 more. And like at that point, you've got to be thinking that like, wow, this turkey hunting stuff is just...
it's the easiest thing you could do for yourself.
Yeah. It was, you had one hell of an opening season for turkey hunting that like nobody ever gets to see. But I remember we went, one of my favorite turkey hunting stories with you was Warren, the state forest trip. We had to lie to Trevor because Tom and I have gotten to know Trevor over the years and kind of know what he's going to try and weasel his way out of if he knows all of the details.
Yeah, there's always grass to cut or could be cut.
Yeah. So Tom and I decide we're going to tell Trevor that we're going turkey hunting in the morning. Did we tell you any information?
Maybe we said Corey.
Yeah, you told me it was like 25 minutes down the road.
So that wasn't the case. So we had my little Ford Fusion all loaded up with decoys and shotguns and stuff. At what point did you realize that you'd been bamboozled?
Probably about an hour and 10 into the drive, I realized this thing, what I was told. And
You weren't curious when we left the house at like 2:30?
No, I just figured, man, these guys just really want to get out. And since I know we're getting birds anyway, we might as well get an early start.
So we're almost to the parking lot that we're going to, and this massive black bear cuts us off in the middle of the road, almost just totally wrecks my car.
Do you think you could try and replicate the noise that you made?
I don't. That was straight instinct. I don't know what that noise was. Trevor has brought that up a few times since that day, but
Yeah, I think it's just called fear.
yeah, I mean that black bear
It didn't sound like, I don't know what it sounded like.
it was 2:30. Trevor and I were probably drinking the night before.
No.
And I was just so tired driving down there. And then it is just, there's nobody on the road because it's all back roads down there for, hour and a half or whatever. And then out of nowhere, that black bear had to have been 500 pounds.
Oh, it was huge.
It was by far the biggest black bear I've ever seen. Cuts us off. And then about a half a mile down the road, we pull into the parking lot like, yep, here we are. We're going to go just get in the woods where that bear just was. And then I think at that point we dropped the bomb on Trevor that our first setup is 4 miles from our parking lot. And I don't, at that point, what are you feeling for this turkey hunt?
Well, we were pretty well locked in at that point. So I was like, well, here we go.
So I think it was at that point I realized I go to grab my shotgun. I never threw a strap on it. So I've got I've got this shotgun with no straps. I've got that just like tucked under my shoulder. And I don't know how or why, but for some reason I wore a hole right through the back of my sock about 100 yards in. So I'm like limping because I got this massive blister on the back of my ankle. And Trevor just made fun of me the entire trip because I was just like hobbling around, had my shotgun under my shoulder so I couldn't use my hands when I'm like climbing hills and stuff. And we did get on some birds.
Heard some gobbling, took a nice nap in a ditch. Thought we lost Trevor. We were sleeping in this ditch, and Trevor had this, it was like a poncho.
It was a poncho. I oriented the one sleeve over my face.
Yeah, because it was like a light rain. So like Trevor basically puts a bag over his head and starts taking a nap.
No, I had the utmost confidence in that poncho.
It had to have been so hot in there. But
Well,
It was steaming pretty good.
Yeah, I woke up from my nap and I look over and Trevor's got a plastic poncho over his head and it's
was like-
totally fogged over.
like I think Trevor just couldn't handle the stress of this turkey hunt any longer. He was just done. But we ended up calling a hen in that day. I remember across the gully, but no luck. And then we had to do the 4-mile walk back because we kind of like looped around a lot, but ended up by noon we had like a 4-mile walk back to the truck. But so this year we brought you in and almost got it done first day, like right off the bat. I couldn't believe it. I was. If we would have gotten a bird for that, I think you would have been convinced that turkey hunting was just like, and it was so close. Like we had this bird cross the road. Somehow I get him to cross the road. Like he was probably 300 yards from where we were set up. And I don't have permission to hunt on that side of the road. So like, it's not like we could have even moved to get closer. So I'm like, well, this is the only bird that's gobbling. We got to see what we can do. So I just, got real slutty with the calling. Next thing I know, that bird's on our side of the road. So I have Trevor spin around. He gets on the other side of the tree because we were facing totally away from him. And then this bird circles down around behind us. So I have Trevor moving again. And for some reason, he just didn't pop up over the hill. Like he was probably 80 yards, 70 yards, somewhere. He was dangerously close, but he just wouldn't come up the hill. He like worked through this gully and never popped up. It was a shame.
Well, that's how turkey hunting goes sometimes, so.
Do you do any turkey hunting down in Pittsburgh at all?
No, not really.
Just the deer hunting?
Yeah, it's all pretty much stuck to public land, and there's just so many people.
Yeah, public's tough. I mean, turkey hunting seems to be getting a little bit more popular as the population gets bigger. And we were hunting public land last weekend, and every place we went to was just loaded with people. So it makes it tough.
Yeah, I don't know, I've always preferred to hunt like private land, like family member that no one else is on. Because like today, I was hunting, it was private land, but I got landowner permission. Well, apparently someone else also got landowner permission. And I was actually, and mind you, this is a fictional podcast, and I'm not entirely sure if this is legal or not, but I was driving and I saw a bird out in a field that I have permission to hunt. So drive back to the house, grab Nick, tell him, hey, there's a bird out in this field that I have permission to hunt. I need you to drop me off in the woods behind it, and I'm going to try and call him in. Which, that's got to be legal.
That is. You weren't stalking the bird.
Yeah. So I set up.
Yeah, you aren't allowed to stalk turkeys.
Yeah.
But you weren't stalking. You were just getting set up on it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get back in the woods and I call nothing. And like 2 minutes later, I hear what I couldn't tell if it was someone calling or an actual turkey. It sounded like someone calling. I'm like, I don't know, not 100%. I'm just gonna hold here. So then I call again. The bird out in the field hammers back, and now I know it's a person calling because they just went frickin' crazy on their call, and they were using a slate call, and I could hear them messing up and squeaking and everything. I'm like, this ain't it. So I try to call Nick, and I don't have the best service at my house. And so the phone call never went through. I think I tried calling about 6 times.
Yeah, I got a voicemail about 30 minutes ago from you.
Yeah. So I had to make the 1.5 mile hike down the road.
Well, which you told me to meet you back there at like 10:30, 11. So I set a timer to leave here at 10:45.
Yeah.
And you walked in at 10:30. I'm like, what the...
Yeah, well, I didn't anticipate. I mean, I planned on sitting there because I was pretty confident I could call that bird across the field.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to booger up someone else's hunt. So it is what it is. Called in 2 longbeards this morning, but they circled behind me and they were gobbling out in front, and I call, they're hammering back, getting closer, so I just shut up. I'm like, all right, I know they're on their way. Well, they made a big loop behind me, and the next time they gobbled, they're like 20 yards, 180 degrees the direction I'm facing. So I just...
Did you see them?
Oh, yeah, I heard them gobble, and I turned my head, and they were both out in this pasture strutting.
You couldn't...
Right behind me.
You couldn't try and spin around, make a quick shot?
No, I wasn't against a tree. I was sitting like in a bush.
Oh.
So I would have had to
Totally
shoot through the bush, and it would have been pretty noisy spinning around.
That sucks.
Yeah.
So, well, I guess you were set up that way because that's where they sound like they're coming from.
Well,
but
my buddy told me that he's been seeing these birds out in front of this hedgerow every single morning. So I'm like, all right, I'll set
face
up
the
there.
hedgerow.
Yeah. Well, no, I was in the hedgerow facing where he's been seeing the birds every day.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, they made a loop around. And to get into the pasture they did, there's a barbed wire fence all the way around it, and it's lined with like multifloral rose, pricker bushes.
Mm-hmm.
So why they felt the need to cross it and get into there, I have no idea. But
how early was it? Like, is it something you think you could do before work?
oh, it was probably 6:05.
Oh.
Yeah, it was like right now.
So what would you do differently if you went back there?
Face into the pasture. Or set up in a location where I could shoot
Both
into
sides.
the pasture and into the field.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah. So, anyway, that was my morning hunt. Today is Saturday. If you're one of our listeners that tunes in at 5 a.m. Sunday morning?
Yeah, once in a while the podcast gets released Monday morning, but yeah, it's always Sunday, Monday.
Yeah, but if you're listening to this 5 a.m. Monday or Sunday, we'll be sitting against a tree trying to call one in off the roost.
It'll be fun. What is this? But yeah, so I guess I feel like since we've got Trevor here, we should probably hear his first buck story too, because we were here for that. So, Trevor, I want you to give us a rundown on your first buck.
Oh, God. That was up in New York. Getting that license was something else, and basically just yelling at a Walmart employee saying that we had all the right.
Which we did.
Actually had someone else that we didn't even know start yelling.
Yeah.
I've hunted Tennessee, Kansas, Kentucky.
Yeah, and they just started clicking away, and before you know it, we had a license in our hands, so we were all set to go. And then got out the next morning up in Clymer, New York, and it was nice. If it was brown, it was down was the rule, so...
Yeah, there's no antler restriction up there.
So, at first, all I saw was a deer ran in behind me.
Well, you're forgetting a very key point.
What?
There's no cell service up there, and radio walkie-talkies are illegal. So we made this thing where I think if you shot a doe, you were supposed to yell
Shoo-wee.
no, yeehaw if you shot a doe, and then if you shot a buck, it was shoo-wee. That way, because you couldn't call anyone, you couldn't use walkie-talkie, but that way everyone else would know, what you just shot.
Yeah.
So this deer comes out.
So it comes out behind me, and it's getting dark, so I'm like, well, I'll just flip around and see what happens. And as I'm moving, it took off, and got a shot off at it and shot under it while it was moving.
And at this point, you knew it was a buck at this point because like once you got it in your scope.
I saw antlers.
Yeah.
And then
Antler.
Well, we're getting there. and then it jumped this creek and looked right back at me. So I was like, well, all right, I'll try and get one more off. So once I saw brown in the scope, I pulled the trigger and was lucky enough to shoot it in the neck. And it just dropped right there in the snow.
Because like we're all a couple 100 yards away, so we hear one shot. Nothing, like we don't hear any shoo-wee, yee-haw, or nothing.
Yeah.
Second shot goes off, and then all of a sudden we hear shoo-wee ringing through the woods.
Yeah, I'm walking up to this gorgeous deer in the snow, and I get to it, and I'm like, oh my God, it's a doe. And after looking at it for a second, it's like, no, this is the most beautiful half-rack buck I've ever seen in my life.
So just the rack side was just in the snow?
It was, but no doubt dominant. I mean, clearly
he probably broke
just
it off from fighting.
Oh, yeah. I tried to ask him, but it was too late.
So that buck's actually still hanging in camp. You've got one on the wall still up there. I love that part of camp. That as it sits, every buck that's been killed there is in camp. I know eventually somebody's going to shoot a tank that probably won't make the wall anymore, but
Could you imagine like someone shoot like 150-inch buck up there, just an absolute giant, and you pull out the hacksaw and start cutting the horns off of it? Yeah, this will look nice up on the wall.
I like Frank's that still has the hair on it.
That is a nice touch. I think the mice have chewed most of it on. It's pretty well bald by now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Mm. Oh my God. That's nice. Well, Trevor, I can't thank you enough for making the trip up here this weekend. This has been a blast, and we got with Tom's wedding and everything. We'll be able to see you a lot this summer.
Yeah, it's gonna be a really busy month, really good month, and I'm sure we'll have a couple beers.
Just a few, if we're good.
Yeah, it might have been the cause of me and Trevor not getting out this morning. But
yeah, who knows?
I wasn't gonna say anything, but since you're bringing it up.
Yeah, hey, we got to own it. We got to show Trevor the local family bar, and just had a good time. Shot some pool. It was good stuff.
Yeah. We were so close. I mean, that counts.
Yeah, that's half the battle right there.
Well, what's the almost only counts in turkey hunting and hand grenades, or isn't that how the saying goes?
Yeah. If that's the case, then I've killed a lot of longbeards. I would be hard pressed to find someone that has almost killed as many longbeards as I have.
Yeah, you do have probably the most almosts of anybody I know.
If I killed half the longbeards that I almost killed, I would have a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. They somehow, I don't know if it's the way I smell or what, but
could be the mustache. It could be too intimidating.
Yeah.
Like if your mustache is better than their beard, maybe they just can't do it.
Yeah.
There's like an aroma coming off of it.
Hopefully, if you're one of the people that listen to this Sunday afternoon, hopefully I'll have my first longbeard under my belt by then.
It'd be good stuff. I guess, we'll wrap it up there. I don't know if we have any moms listening, but if we do, happy Mother's Day.
Absolutely.
I think moms are a huge part of why we can still do the things we do, like hunting and stuff. I know our mom's been awesome with, even just like cooking venison and supporting us while we're doing everything we like to do. So just want to give a shout out to the moms. Happy Mother's Day. And they're the reason we're here. So
amen.
Thank you. Trevor, it's good seeing you again.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a blast. So I guess we'll close it out there with how we always do it, Trevor. We like to thank everybody for listening and continuing to support us and what we do. And it's still turkey season, so make sure everybody's still getting outside.